My sister kicked me out of the family business, so I built my own. Now they beg me to come back. I can still hear my sister's voice echoing in my head. "We don't need you here," she said, as if everything we had built, everything Mom and Dad had sacrificed, meant nothing. I was standing there, my heart pounding, trying to comprehend what was happening. This wasn't just a disagreement. It was a betrayal, a cold, calculated move that I never saw coming. Growing up, I was always in her shadow. I was the quieter one, the one who stayed behind the scenes while she took the spotlight. It never bothered me much at first. I didn't mind being the support system. I loved the family business and wanted to contribute, just like everyone else. But over the years, I started to realize something. My sister wasn't just competing with me for attention. She was actively pushing me aside. I remember when I first entered the family business. I was just out of college, eager to show my parents that I had the skills to help grow the company. I had spent 4 years studying, learning new ways to innovate and expand, and I was ready. But when I walked into that office for the first time, it felt like I was a stranger in my own home. There she was, my sister, sitting at Dad's desk, wearing his old chair like she owned it. It was one thing to be ambitious, but the way she looked at me, the way she barely acknowledged my presence, made me feel like I didn't matter. I tried to keep my head down, to take the back seat and wait my turn. But deep down, I knew this wasn't what I had imagined. This wasn't the family business I was supposed to inherit. The tension started to build the more I tried to contribute. Every idea I brought to the table was shot down. Every suggestion was dismissed like it was worthless. I was constantly being told, "That's not how we do things here," or "We've always done it this way." My sister took every opportunity to undermine me, making sure I never had a chance to rise above the helper position. And the worst part, our parents didn't seem to notice. They were too caught up in her charisma, her ability to charm them into thinking she was the right one for the job. I couldn't even get a word in. But that day, the day she told me I didn't belong, was different. It was the breaking point. I could no longer ignore the fact that she was sabotaging me, that she didn't care about our shared future. She didn't even care about the legacy that Mom and Dad had worked so hard to build. To her, it was all about control, about being the one at the top. I remember walking out of that office for the last time. There was no drama, no shouting. I didn't cry or beg. I just left. But in that moment, something inside of me shifted. I wasn't just walking away from a business. I was walking away from a family that had never truly believed in me. They had seen me as nothing more than a backup plan, a second choice, the quiet one who could be easily overlooked. But I wasn't going to let that define me. I packed up my things, got in my car, and drove away. I had no clear plan. All I knew was that I couldn't go back. I would never return to that office, never let my sister or anyone else dictate my future. I started from scratch. The next few months were hard. No one wants to hear about the struggles, the failures, or the nights spent awake, trying to make ends meet. But I kept pushing. I worked 12-hour days, made deals, took risks, and kept my head down. And slowly, my new business began to grow. I had no support, no family to back me up, but I didn't need them. I was building something of my own, a company that would prove I could make it without them. It was grueling. I didn't have the resources they did. No inherited connections. No trust fund to fall back on. Just raw determination. There were days I felt like giving up. Days when the weight of what I had lost, the family, the business, my place in it, seemed unbearable. But then I would remember how they had treated me, how they had dismissed me as if I was nothing. I couldn't let that be the final chapter of my story. So, I kept working, and as the months turned into years, something miraculous happened. My business flourished. It didn't just succeed, it thrived. I started to make a name for myself, not just in our industry, but in the business world. People took notice. They were amazed at what I had built from the ground up. And I knew in my heart that my success wasn't just for me. It was a statement, a loud, defiant statement that I didn't need them to succeed. I could stand on my own 2 feet, and I was damn good at it. Then came the moment I had been waiting for. The moment I had feared for so long. My sister showed up at my door. I didn't know it then, but I could feel something was wrong the moment I saw her face. She didn't even have the courage to call me first. She just appeared, standing there in front of my office building, looking smaller than I had ever seen her before. "I need your help," she said, her voice breaking. There was no arrogance in it now, just desperation. "The business is failing. I don't know how to fix it. You're the only one who can save us?" I froze. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. All the anger, all the frustration, all the memories of being pushed aside rushed back in a wave. This was the sister who had destroyed everything. The one who had torn our family apart. Who had pushed me out without a second thought. And now she was begging me for help. I let her sit in silence for what felt like an eternity. She looked uncomfortable, shifting in her seat, knowing she was on the edge of begging. Her pride had crumbled. The facade was gone, and as much as I wanted to give in, as much as a part of me wanted to be the bigger person, I knew I couldn't. "You had your chance," I finally said, my voice steady, though it was shaking inside. "You kicked me out. You wanted to do it on your own. You made it clear you didn't need me. So don't come here now asking for my help. You made your bed. Now you lie in it." But the silence that followed was suffocating. I could see her fighting to hold back tears, the reality of her failure sinking in. But I didn't care. It wasn't my problem anymore. "I'm sorry," she whispered, barely audible. "I'm not here to fix your mess," I said coldly. "You made your choices. I made mine. And I don't need you or this company anymore." She stood up, face pale, her eyes wide with disbelief. The arrogant woman who had once looked down on me was now broken. And I couldn't bring myself to feel sorry for her. Not after everything she had done. As she walked out of my office, I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of satisfaction. Not because I had crushed her, but because I had proved to myself that I was stronger than her. Stronger than anyone who had ever doubted me. I had built something that no one could take away, and in the end, that was all that mattered. They begged. They pleaded. But I didn't go back. I had made it on my own. And that was enough. I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their business. I was the one who had come out on top. And as for my sister, well, she learned the hard way that you can't just push people aside and expect them to always come back. Not me. Not ever again. Time passed. Life moved on. And though I had proven to myself that I didn't need anyone, I couldn't help but think about what had happened. My sister's betrayal had left a scar, one that wouldn't heal easily. But I wasn't some vengeful person. I didn't want to carry around hatred for the rest of my life. After all, she was still family. I started thinking about the possibility of rebuilding some kind of relationship, just for the sake of our parents. It was hard to completely erase the years of resentment, but I thought it. Maybe, just maybe, I could try again. Not because I wanted to work with her or fix the family business, but because I was tired of carrying around that weight. Tired of letting her actions control my emotions. I had already proven that I could make it without them, So why not try to at least heal the wound? A few months after that awkward encounter, I decided to reach out. It wasn't easy. I had no idea if she would even respond or if it would make things worse. But I made the decision to send her an email. Something simple. Something that wouldn't expect much in return. I'm not asking for anything. Just wanted to see how you're doing. If you're open to it, I'd be willing to meet. I waited, staring at my phone screen, for what felt like hours, heart racing. The clock ticked by. Then, one day, I received a message. It was her. I've made a lot of mistakes, but if you're willing, I'd like to talk. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want to try. I couldn't believe it. She sounded genuine. Her words weren't filled with arrogance or demands. It was raw. She was vulnerable. Maybe she had finally realized how badly she had messed up. So I agreed to meet. We set a time and place. Just a small cafe, somewhere neutral, away from everything that had gone wrong. The day arrived. I walked in, not really knowing what to expect. When I saw her, she looked different. There was no fake smile, no facade. She looked tired, worn down. Her once polished appearance was now more fragile. I don't know why, but I felt a small tug in my chest. Maybe she really had changed. We sat down, exchanged pleasantries, and for the first time in years, we talked. She admitted that everything she had done, the way she had taken control of the business, the way she had treated me, was wrong. She admitted that she had been blinded by ambition, consumed by her desire for power and control. And she was sorry. But I didn't want her apology. I didn't want words. What I wanted was something different. I'm not here to fix things, I said, my voice steady but firm. I'm here because I'm tired of feeling like I'm not enough. I'm tired of being the one who was always pushed aside, always overlooked. And if you truly want to make things right, I need to see it. I need to know that you've really changed. Bah, she nodded, her eyes filled with emotion. But I could tell she didn't quite understand what I meant. She was still stuck in her own world, her own narrow vision of how things should be. I realized then that I couldn't just forgive her for what she had done. It wasn't enough to say sorry. I needed to see the action behind it. So I made her an offer, a challenge. If you will, I would help her. Not out of the goodness of my heart, but because I wanted to prove something to her. Prove that I had what it took to help her succeed, but also that I was the one in control now. I'll help you, I said, but you have to promise me something. This time, I'm leading the way. You follow my lead, and you listen. If you step out of line again, if you try to sabotage me, if you even think about taking control, I'm out, and I won't come back. At first, she hesitated. There was a part of her that wanted to take control again, that wanted to be the one who called the shots. But I saw something in her eyes. The arrogance was gone. There was fear now, fear of losing everything, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. She had learned her lesson the hard way, so we agreed. We worked together for the next few months, and it wasn't as terrible as I expected. But there was still tension. I could feel it every time I spoke, every time I made a suggestion. She wanted to push back, but she couldn't. She had learned that I was no longer the quiet one. I wasn't the kid she could dismiss or belittle. But then things started to shift. Slowly, we began to rebuild the business. It wasn't easy. We fought. We argued. But in the end, the work paid off. The business started to grow. People started noticing our efforts. And for a moment, I thought maybe things were really changing. Maybe we could rebuild not just the company, but our relationship too. But then the betrayal came again. I still don't know what went wrong. One day, I walked into the office to find that the plans we had been working on, The ones I had suggested, the ones I had pushed for, had been completely changed without my knowledge. She had gone behind my back and made decisions without consulting me. The work I had put in, the strategies I had carefully laid out, were discarded like they meant nothing. I was livid. My heart pounded in my chest, and I could feel the anger bubbling up. This was it. I had given her a chance, and once again she had failed. She couldn't help herself. The need for control, the need to be the one in charge. It was too much for her. I didn't say a word. I just turned and walked out. This time, there would be no turning back. Later that day, she called. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice pleading. "Please, just come back. We can fix this." But the anger I felt wasn't just from her betrayal. It was from all the years I had wasted trying to make things work with someone who never saw me as equal. It was from all the nights I spent wondering if I was good enough, if I could ever rise to their level. And now I was done. "I gave you a chance," I said calmly, my voice cutting through the line like a knife. "But you destroyed it. You destroyed everything we worked for. And now you're begging me to come back. You'll never have that chance again." Her voice trembled. "Please, don't leave me like this. I need you." But I had learned something over these past few years. I didn't need her. I didn't need her approval. I had built my life without them, and I would continue to thrive without them. So I ended the call, and I didn't look back. The business continued to grow, but she never recovered from what she had done. She begged, she pleaded, but the damage was done. And as for me, I stood tall, knowing I had taken control of my life. I had done it on my own. I didn't need anyone to validate me. Not her. Not anyone. And when I looked in the mirror, I didn't see the person who had been rejected or cast aside. I saw the person who had taken everything from the ground up and built something far more successful than she ever could have imagined. She learned, in the end, that you can only betray someone so many times before they walk away. And when they do, there's no going back.